Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. This news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up tonight, Minority on Parliament's Economy Committee questions funding source for 24-hour plus economy policy amid tax exemption concerns for participating companies.
So if you're struggling to now raise some money to run a model, it tells you there's a problem.
We bring you detailed analysis of the thematic areas under the policy. Also coming up tonight, Gold Board dismantles illegal gold syndicate involving 10 Chinese nationals in Asankragua just 48 hours after a new law banned foreign gold trading, with government vowing to prosecute, not deport offenders.
We're hiding somewhere in Asankragua in the western region. We're hiding in a private residence, what they call casino cars. So what they do is that they convert the money into casino cars.
We've got details as Gold Board reveals it has carried out 17 busts since the new law took effect, confiscating over 34 million Ghana cedis worth of gold, cash and other items.
The total weight, gross weight of gold that has been seized is in excess of 12 kg. 1 kilogram of gold is more than 1 million cedis. So you're talking about in excess of 12 million Ghana cedis in gold.
Coming up in business.
Mixed price reviews of the pumps at some oil marketing firms reduce petrol price and hike that of diesel.
And in sports, former Black Stars assistant coach Gigi Dramani basks Kamaldeen Suleiman to excel in the Serie A following his move to Atalanta.
And a bit later, we'll tell you the story of a 10-year-old boy who studies in traffic while his mother hawks sachet water, all to become a soldier and change her life.
4 + 1 is 5. And I have seen Jesus. What do you want to become?
Soldier.
A soldier.
Yeah,
And then resides when I'm
My name is Kenneth Jesse. We've got the latest of these and many other stories coming up in the next 1 hour. Don't go anywhere. Welcome to the program. Let's begin from Parliament, where members of the Parliament's Committee on Economy from the minority side have raised concerns about the funding source for the government's 24-hour plus economy policy. Well, specifically, they flagged potential issues with proposed tax exemptions for participating companies. The lawmakers want clarity on how these exemptions might impact the national budget and whether the benefits of the policy will outweigh the costs. Well, this scrutiny comes as the government prepares to implement the policy aimed at boosting economic growth and development. Well, speaking at the official launch held at the Accra International Conference Center earlier today, President John Mahama said that the Volta Economic Corridor will serve as the anchor of the 24-hour plus project, driving industrial and agro-processing activities around the clock.
And now, so what is the famous Volta Economic Corridor we're talking about? That is our flagship anchor. While the 24-hour plus program is national in scope, our flagship intervention is the Volta Economic Corridor, a transformational effort to unlock the economic and environmental potential of the Volta Lake and its surrounding lands. Ladies and gentlemen, our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, envisioned the Volta project at Akosombo not only as a source of power to power Ghana's industrial sector. He also saw it as an integrated project that will provide agribusiness, it will provide lands for agriculture, irrigation. Unfortunately, that aspect of his vision have been lost. Today, we're recreating Kwame Nkrumah's dream. Today, Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's dream comes alive again. We will irrigate over 2 million hectares of land for intensive agriculture under Grow 24. We will establish agro-industrial parks for textiles, pharmaceuticals, and food processing under Make 24. We will develop tourism clusters along the lake under Show 24. We will turn the lake into a central transport corridor that connects the north to the south and the east to the west under Connect 24. And so, ladies and gentlemen, imagine a future where fresh fruits and vegetables from Tamale are air freighted daily to Europe and other destinations. Imagine aquaculture along the lake, the Volta Lake, that sustains jobs and provides nutrition and ports on the Volta Lake that reduce our transportation costs by up to 80%. This is how we unlock the full value of inland Ghana and reconnect with our Sahelian neighbors. The finance and implementation institutional frameworks for 24-hour plus. The private sector will lead the 24-hour plus program. Government will facilitate and not dominate.
So that right there is President John Mahama during the launch of the 24-hour economy policy. Well, the special advisor on the initiative, Gusitano, says his outfit is collaborating with the Ministry of Finance as authorities are finalizing a 24-hour plus incentive package aimed at attracting investors.
Secondly, we have presented our 24-hour plus incentives package along with its impact assessment report to the Ministry of Finance for final review and adoption. Our proposals to the Finance Minister aim to simplify incentives and eliminate unnecessary bureaucratic discretion, thereby discouraging arbitrariness.
But the Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Select Committee on Economy and Development, Chenebua Kodia Fokuo, says such a move signals the funding challenges and Parliament will scrutinize the policy when laid before the House.
If something is not an issue, then you don't even talk about it. If there was an unlimited amount of money, then we won't even debate it here. Whatever you are going to use, debating. Please, let me, whatever you are going to use,
let's hear him.
Whatever you are going to use to run this program is not from somebody's pocket. This is money for the country. This is budget approved by, that has to be approved or approved by, approved by Parliament. If private people are going to come in, that is where I'm coming to, that a model that makes sense, private people on their own will jump on board. If they realize that there's demand for it, effective demand for this program, that they are going to produce more, i.e. producing around the clock, and there are off-takers, why not? Funding would not be a problem. So if we start talking about funding, if we realize that funding will be, one of the issues, then it tells you we have to ask ourselves the questions that I started with again. But it's telling me there's no funding problem. But I'm coming. Whatever that we are going to use from the government side, if it's not already approved in the March budget, it's going to come. And Parliament will scrutinize it.
Fantastic.
So whatever we're doing, it should make economic sense.
Correct.
He's talking about patient capital. Okay, think about it. You're looking for some money that will be there for years. Use it. Investors, again, I'm using the same word. Investors are rational. They don't just go throwing their monies. And in Ghana here, the commercial banks, people say, they lend for short term. Yes, they are commercial banks. If you're placing your money with them, how long do you place with them? You're placing with them for 91 days, 180 days, maximum some 1 year. And you want them to lend it to you for whatever years. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make sense.
So that is Chenebua Kodia Fokuo, who is the Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Select Committee on Economy and Development. Let's go onto the telephone lines and speak to our Presidential Affairs Correspondent Maxwell Akbagba, who covered the event for us today. Maxwell, tell us a bit about the President's decision to ensure the 24-hour Economy Secretariat becomes answerable to future presidents about its legislation and funding as well.
Yes, Ken. President Mahama stated that the Secretariat responsible for the 24-hour economy plus will eventually evolve into an autonomous 24-hour plus authority that reports directly to the President. He stated that this structure is designed with the future of Ghana in mind. According to him, the authority will not report solely to the current President, that's him, but to successive presidents in the years ahead to ensure continuity. President Mahama also talked about government funding role in the rollout of the initiative, describing its financial contribution as catalytic rather than dominant, to use his own words. He said any government funding under the initiative will serve primarily as seed capital for the 24-hour plus authority and all infrastructure. He said most of the money that businesses will need for the 24-hour plus initiative will not come from the government. Instead, it will come from banks, development finance institutions, and blended financing. he stated that to deal with the persistent challenges such as limited access to capital, lack of collateral, and the short-term nature of most banking facilities, the 24-hour plus SAP program, which was listed today, Fund 24, is expected to bridge the gap for businesses, participating in the 24 hour.
Okay, thank you very much, Maxwell. That's our presidential affairs correspondent. We will be exploring these issues more in depth with the Secretariat, but how much really will the program cost and how will it be funded? Well, Caleb Ziblim of JoyNews Research Desk joins me in studio with details. Caleb, first, let's start with the cost and how it will be funded.
So the total cost of the program is projected at $4 billion. And out of that, the government is putting up $300 million as seed capital. So that covers just 8% of the total cost. The remaining 92%, or that's $3.7 billion, will be raised through public-private partnerships with the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund leading the mobilization. Also, there will be a 2.5% import levy on specific goods to be able to raise funds to support the program.
And we understand the 24-hour economy is not just about shifts. What more do we know about it?
So looking at the policy, we see that aside the various tax incentives, the policy also focuses on some structural change in Ghana's economy. The first includes the creation of agro-ecological parks along the Volta Basin, designed to increase food production and take advantage of the lake's natural resources. Farming clusters, including greenhouses, would also be developed around major cities. The idea is to grow food closer to where people live and reduce transport costs. A national irrigation system would also be built fed directly by the Volta Lake. The lake itself will also be developed into a transport route linking the northern and southern parts of the country. And across all regions, new industrial parks will be established. Each of them will run its own electricity grid, mainly powered by solar and biogas, so they are not reliant on the national grid.
Okay, let's get into the tax incentives bit. What more are we learning?
So to start with, the import duties will be scrapped entirely for key raw materials and manufacturing equipment needed by local industries. Firms involved in strategic agricultural production would also be exempt from corporate income tax. And more broadly, companies that run 2 shifts will receive a 25% corporate tax rebate, while those that run 3 shifts will get a 50% tax rebate.
Caleb Ziblim, thank you very much. But let's go back to the telephone lines once again and have a conversation on the back of this. I've been joined on the lines by Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodu, who is the head of Innovation, Finance, Partnership and Markets at the 24-Hour Economy Secretariat. I've also been joined on the telephone lines by Fokuo Kodua Trinibua, who is the Deputy Ranking Member on Economy and the Development Committee. Let me start with you, Dr. Amano. Now that we know that there's going to be some tax breaks for participating businesses, how will the government compensate for the potential loss in tax revenue, and what alternative funding sources are being considered?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Ghanaians, to His Excellency the President, and also members of Parliament, government machinery, industry, private sector, civil society, and everyone who has really contributed to structure the 24-hour economy program, the policy document that actually was unveiled today. It will be remiss of me not to mention all of them, because we went to all of them and spoke to them, including development partners and development financial institutions as well. Right. Now, back to the question that you actually asked. What is very important to recognize is that the 24-hour economy is actually going to be private sector driven. So the type of financing that we are looking at are financing that are innovative financing that would be drawn from the interests of private sectors, whether in debt or in blend financing, or types of innovative financing in the climate ecosystem, for example, climate finance, or SDG ecosystem, such as SDG bonds and so on, or with diaspora, looking at different ranges where the diaspora can actually leverage opportunities that we are creating through the 24-hour economy through diaspora investment bond, or some type of instruments that are akin to impact financing, so impact investors who are very concerned about environmental and social governance realities of what they invest in. So we have a wide range of financing to be able to address the 24-hour economy.
What are they?
And we are talking to all of them. So we are looking at, for example, concessional loans that are drawn from impact investors, direct finance, development finance institutions, that are also development financing that are coming from development partners, multilaterals, bilaterals, that are looking at not just stimulating the economy, but actually addressing the issues of jobs, poverty reduction, women empowerment, and so on. Because a lot of these financing that we are requiring, whether it's in infrastructure or SME financing, most of them relate to the interests of development partners that address strategically the interests of the sustainable development goals. And so development partners do have grants that are very important. Now, these grants are extremely important in de-risking the investment that the private sector can come in.
Okay.
Dr.
Amana, I want to understand what specific criteria will determine which businesses, for example, qualify for tax breaks, and how government prevent possible abuse or favoritism in the selection process.
Right. So the businesses that will qualify for tax breaks are businesses that are in industrial parks, are investing directly in industrial parks, or they're investing directly in the agroecological parks, and these are going to be constructed either as special economic zones or special industrial zones that we would be able to manage. And so when you are in any of those parks, and they are going to be all around the 16 regions, and we want to make sure that they are embedded in the various clusters that we have created. Over time, we'll be able to give you the list of the clusters and the geospatial distribution of those clusters. Right. These clusters are related to a number of things. One, the type of crops or the value chain crops, the type of manufacturing processes that we are envisaging because of the value chain in terms of the raw material coming into the industrial park.
Doctor, we understand.
So there are a lot of criteria that is going to go into that. So based on those, we'll be able to determine.
We understand that we are looking at a figure from between $4 billion for the 5-year period, and we understand that the government is going to provide between $300 to $400 million for it. Has government provided that money yet? And if it hasn't, where is that money going to come from?
Well, for such an undertaking, one of the things that we have to be very realistic about is that if a private sector or our development partners or strategic partners who are bringing money into this economic investment would bring them, they have to see that the government have a skin in the game. So the skin in the game is the viability fund, which constitutes about 8% of what we are looking for that the government would bring. And government have to bring it not once, over time.
Okay.
As we structure the financial engineering for one special purpose vehicle or the other that relates to industrial park or the agroecological park.
So Dr. Mana, I want to understand, is government launching the policy without any seed funding?
No, the government is not launching a policy that is seed funding, but all the details of.
So how much? How much seed funding has the government started with?
Well, we have indicated the viability funds about 300 million, which was mentioned.
So how much? How much is readily available? Because you did mention that it's going to come in tranches.
You recognize that the secretariat has been functioning since January up to now. So the seed funding for the operational costs have been given by government, and all and the other things that relate to. I don't have the figures at my fingertips, but such an undertaking where we have developed the programs policy product, where we have actually made all these consultations with over 350 individuals, where we have been functioning with a wide range of experts that we have mobilized to be able to develop this cost of money. And also, one of the things that is very critical, the government providing the financing for us to do some of the feasibility studies in order to be able to quantify all the structure, the business proposals that the various agroecological parks and so on that we are looking at. All this costs money. So I won't be able to tell you how much it is, but in the scheme of things, when you look at the development project of this undertaking, you can imagine that it is quite a heavy financing that the government
Dr. Mano, so this means that there's going to be a lot of changes to some laws, income tax laws and all that. When are all these laws going to be changed? When are they going to be effected?
All right, so you are speaking to the larger issue, which is sequencing of how we implement. At the moment, the plethora of laws, incentives, policy initiatives that we need to bring to whether in Parliament or have to be used as executive instruments, so on. All of them have been put together, and we are working very closely with the Attorney General's office and other related institutions that deals with it, and very closely with the Minister of Finance, who have dedicated staff who are working with us to make sure that we conform to requirements that we have already in IMF, but at the same time requirements that relates to the future prediction of how the country will get out of where we are today.
Dr. Amano, kindly hold on for me. I'll come back to you, but let me go to Trinebua Kodua Fuku, who's the Deputy Ranking Member on the Economy and Development Committee of Parliament. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. I believe you've been listening into the conversation which we're having with Dr. Ni Amano Dodu. Are you satisfied with the explanations he's been given?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And it looks like I'm having a feedback.
Well, we can hear you clearly.
You can hear me? Okay. So, thank you for having me. I express my appreciation and my regards to the listeners as well. So, I want to pick just a couple of points that he talked about. The first one being the fact that there could be tax incentives to those that will venture into this program. Okay, we need to be really careful here. If you're going to offer tax incentive, once you have an incentive, people are, without any prejudice, people are likely to abuse wherever there's something in quote free. Okay, if you are going to give some incentives, you need to be careful. If incentives are going to be advanced, then entities or companies would have to prove that indeed they've exhausted their daytime or daylight capacities to produce. Okay, if you're telling us you're going to produce more rice, for this country to benefit from, to replace, importation of rice, then you have to really justify that, yes, the daytime that is available to you, you've really exhausted your production capacity for you to be looking for, tax incentives. Okay, so that is key. Otherwise, everyone will jump that, I'm going to produce during the odd hours, i.e., during the night hours. So I need some tax incentives, and people would abuse it. So you have to really prove that you've exhausted your data capacity. And I find that a bit interesting that we're saying all this that we are talking about, people in Ghana or businesses in Ghana, they've worked so hard that they've exhausted their daytime capacity to produce. So we have to shift to the night. And there's demand ready for, the goods and services that we are going to produce. Okay. He talked about financing as well. And financing, yes. I mean, he said that they were going to talk to development finance institutions, commercial banks, and so on and so forth. Look, we need to be realistic here. Whether you go to development finance institutions or whatever finance house, it's one thing that is going to be coming out, and that is whether the model is workable or not. Okay, these institutions are profit making. They are businesses. They are not going to give you grants. So if they are not going to give you grants and they are going to give you loans, which they expect you to pay back, then you have to prove beyond doubt that you are going to generate cash flows that are sustainable, cash flows that will be able to repay whatever that they give you with whatever interest that they add on.
Right.
Okay. So financing big. I heard him that some key fund has been set aside, but I mean, I said this earlier on during the day that this is taxpayers' money. Whatever that is, I mean, going to be earmarked for this program would have to be scrutinized by
Mr. Foucault, what do you see as the biggest risks of this policy, particularly regarding its funding model that he has been explaining, and also the tax breaks for businesses?
Yeah, I think I made the first point about the tax breaks. That for an entity to benefit from such tax breaks, okay, that entity must be able to prove beyond any doubt that it has exhausted its daytime production capacity. Otherwise, companies will just jump that, look, I'm producing XYZ during night hours, so I'm entitled to some tax rebate. Give it to me. Okay? But we need to be sure. We need to check. It should be a condition that before you even qualify for such tax holidays or tax rebates, that you have exhausted your production capacity for the daytime. That is one point. Okay.
Okay.
The other one on the financing is that the government, whatever seed fund that is put into this, no problem, but we will scrutinize to be sure that really it's going to be put to, to the right use, and then to the private sector. Okay. Private funding, irrespective of whichever finance house that entities might approach to support this program, whether development banks or commercial banks or whichever finance house.
Okay, thank you very much. That is Kodua Chinebuafoko, who is the Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Economy and Development Committee. And earlier you heard Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Diodu, who is the Head of Innovation, Finance, Partnership and Markets at the 24-Hour Economy Secretariat. Thank you very much, gentlemen. But let me bring in the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chum Akwabwa. Seth, it appears that there's been a lot of consultations before this policy was finally launched or formally launched. Is the business community ready for this, the 24-hour economy?
Thank you very much, Ivan. Yes, indeed, we are excited about it. Initially, when the 24-hour policy concept was mentioned, we were not too clear what was going to happen. Until later on, we had the opportunity of engaging particularly Mr. Bustando and the team at our council retreat, and then they presented a detailed arrangement they had in mind in implementing the 24-hour economy. And it resonated quite well with us because for us, the emphasis
we're getting some poor feedback from that particular interview with Seth Chum Akwabwa, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries. But let's now bring you what is happening in the world of business. And George Wiafe is here with the latest. George, what's up?
Well, coming up in inflation, that is in business, a significant drop in prices of some food items helped push June inflation to 13.7%, getting it closer to government's end of year target. And also we'll be getting you more on other stories when it comes to what government is saying, what they're going to do, as well as mixed price reviews at the pumps at some oil marketing firms, reduce fuel prices, but hike that of diesel. The business news on Newsnights is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Sinter Stanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Now, the significant drop in prices of some food items pushed the June inflation to its lowest since December 2021. Now, that's according to data released by the Ghana Statistical Service in Accra today. Isaac Nyako has the rest of the story.
This is the sixth consecutive decline in inflation for this year and the lowest since December 2021. According to data released by the Ghana Statistical Service, the decline was influenced by a significant slowdown in the general price levels of foodstuffs and other items. While food inflation dropped to 16.3% from the 22.8% recorded in May, non-food inflation dropped to 11.4%. On reducing imported inflation, Dr. Idrisu charged businesses to take strategic measures which will reduce exposure to global economic shocks. The Upper West region recorded the highest inflation of 32.3%, largely caused by food inflation and utilities, whereas the Bono region recorded the lowest of 8.4%. On the future outlook of inflation for the rest of the year, the government statistician called for monetary and fiscal consolidation to support the gains achieved so far.
Sustainability of prices is extremely important, and the government has a big role to play in ensuring that these prices are sustained.
And that is a business tech report put together by Isaac Nyako. Let's now get on to Zoom and speak to an economist, Dr. Tio Champon. Doc, thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight. We do some analysis on the inflation numbers. For you, let me first ask you, Doc, were you surprised about the numbers as reported by the Ghana Statistical Service?
Yeah, good evening, George, and to our listeners. I think, yes, the quantum of the decline is quite big, and so in that sense, it's a bit of a surprise. Also, of course, given what had happened a few weeks ago with the Iran and Israel conflict, and sort of the expectation that there could have been some sort of big push through in terms of that prices on the local market from the imported inflation side. Nevertheless, of course, oil prices now have largely gone back to levels that we had seen pre the war. But the this is quite big, especially on the food inflation component, and I think that indicates to me that we can also even see further declines, particularly in the next 2 months as we go into the bumper season, where there's going to be quite a lot of food, and many of our towns and cities will be having their festivals around that period. So overall, I think it's a very positive development, and it does show that the economic turnaround is being sustained. And like the government statistician said, how to consolidate this comes down to what we do on the monetary and then on the fiscal side in terms of consolidation.
Doc, what would you also advise government to do to sustain this good run?
So I think the first thing, even before the advice, then is what the central bank also does when it comes to inflation expectation, and then how that fits into the monetary policy rate. Some are already calling for some cut, maybe probably about 100 basis points to sort of anchor the real turnaround within the economy. But I think it's just really being more conservative in terms of what the bank is doing to mopping up excess liquidity within the system. And then on the fiscal side, it's just going on with what the authorities are doing at the moment with reining in on spending, implementing the tight expenditure controls that are already being done, and making sure that spending is being passed through the GIFME system. And I think for many other observers, what happens latter part of next month when the finance minister comes to parliament with the mid-year budget, and the half-year fiscal performance would also be indicative of what we should expect for the remaining 6 months of the year.
As you wrap up on this interview, in a minute, government is looking at ending the year at 11.9% when it comes to the inflation target. Is this achievable?
Oh, it's certainly possible with the rates that we're going, but there's a big if in all of this. None of us are magicians, in the sense that if we see big escalation on the global front, on the external front, for sure, then that hits quite strongly on the non-food component of the inflation basket. But with what we're seeing currently, all things being equal, very likely that we may actually end the year close, even below that target that we are looking for. And that would have actually been quite a major achievement, given that we are still under the IMF program, and one of the conditionalities, right, is meeting that inflation target. And for a very long time, for as long as I can recall, we have not been anywhere close to a single digit inflation number in probably the last 3-4 years. I have to check the numbers, but anything that is brings prices or the rate of price increment down, that is good. The biggest concern people, of course, have is whether or not this cascades to ordinary men and women in the street. So some items in the basket are still sort of going up, and people feel that traders could do more by passing some of the savings on to consumers.
Dr. Champon is an economist, and thank you so much for that education and insight in the inflation numbers and your views in terms of going forward. To other stories, and there have been mixed price views of the pumps when it comes to prices of petroleum products. Whilst petrol has been reduced by some oil marketing firms, all the other companies have also actually increased the price of diesel at the pumps. There is more in this report.
Oil marketing firm Gold took the lead this morning, selling a litre of petrol at 12 cedis, 7 pesos. VAT of diesel, however, has been increased to 13 cedis, 20 pesos per litre. Also, another major player, Shell, has increased the price of diesel and petrol. This increase by some of the major oil marketing firms have brought to an end a consecutive decline in prices of petroleum products since February this year. But some industry persons have argued that we might be seeing an end to those declines experienced over the past month earlier this year.
And that is a business desk report. Meanwhile, Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies says that is Dr. Rivers Nopon says it might be early days yet to assess the impact of the proposed levy on prices of petroleum products in 2 weeks' time and how things would look like at the pumps.
The same position we took from the day this new levy came to being. And we had all the promise around there will be no increase, there will be no increase. I believe by next week, Friday or Saturday, we should be able to tell the impact on the pump price. Obviously, the chamber will give you the prices without and the prices with, so that we see the impact on that. But as it stands, it's too early to say that. I mean, all that I can tell that there's an additional 1 cedi tax on the pump price, whatever to be. The position of COMAC on the fuel levy, obviously, if crude oil price go on high international market, we saw it coming. They announced, the government announced an adjournment on the implementation date by themselves. At least it means that they understand the impacts of.
Dr. Revison Upon is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority has assured that it is on course to conclude all work on the proposed value-added tax reforms that will be introduced by September this year. Commissioner of Domestic Revenue at the Ghana Revenue Authority, Dr. Edward Apintin Jamra, has been speaking to Joy Business after a stakeholder engagement with some traders here in Accra.
We are expected to complete the drafting by September. So we complete the engagement within the next 2 weeks. We'll start doing the drafts. When we are done with the draft, we'll come back again, engage stakeholders for them to go through and see what is coming, what is in there, their input that have been considered. Those that we are not able to take on board, will provide explanations to them and come up with a document that will be acceptable to Ghanaians.
Edward Apintin Jamra is Commissioner of the Ghana Revenue Authority in charge of domestic revenue. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Yes, and George, in sports, well, the biggest news for Ghanaian player Kamaldeen Suleiman is that he has completed a permanent switch to Serie A outfit Atalanta, with the Italian side reportedly paying around £18 million for the Ghanaian winger. We understand that Southampton will receive an initial $15 million as part of the deal, with a 23-year-old signing a 4-year contract that runs until 2029. Remember that Kamaldeen Suleiman joined Southampton in some 2 seasons ago, 2.5 years ago, but failed to impress largely due to injuries. He only managed some 74 appearances, scoring 4 goals and registering 7 assists. Well, despite the challenging time at Southampton, his former trainer, who is now the head coach of Accra Heart of Oak, Didi Dramani, is backing the young player to succeed in Italy.
He's very tactical, with all the elements, both the phases, defensive and offensive, and he will be better in that one. I'm very, very positive.
You think his pace gives him an advantage there?
Speed is a huge component when it comes to talent. When you go to look for players and someone cannot pass the ball well and he can run very fast, take him and then give him football, he will learn how to pass the ball.
Right.
Yes, he will learn how to pass the ball. Speed is something that we train players on. But if the person has it already, and it's genetic, so once you have that muscle group, you are favored.
So you think he will excel in Italy?
Yeah, he will. He's very young. I think he's a 2002.
You're right. Yeah,
he's very young.
As Coach Didi Dramani there speaking on Kamaldeen's move to Atalanta, and we're all hoping that he goes there to do really well.
I wish the 23-year-old all the best.
Good, he started from a right to dream, went to Norgeland in Denmark, then went to Stade Rennais in France, to Southampton in England, and now Atalanta in Serie A. He just needs some stability and show the world what he's capable of doing. He's a very good player, good player. On Sunday, we're building up to the President Cup, Kotoko and Heart of Oak in action, and not sure where you're going to stand on that, but hopefully we get to talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. So.
Thank you very much, Musbah, for bringing us the latest in sports. So a few of your messages you've been sending to us. This is from Musa Abatua in Aswasi in Kumasi. He says, we must all come together to support the government in raising the $4 billion needed to implement the 24-hour economic policy. This is from Nana Akuamwa Boatin in Ablekuma Central. He says the Electoral Commission's decision to rerun 19 polling stations, when indeed it was just 3 polling stations, which they have in many instances said they will continue with the collation of the results, is simply shocking. And this one says the 2 parties must keep quiet and allow a rerun of the Ablekuma North election by the EC. They must give us a break. Those are a few of your messages you have been sending to us. Now, he wants to be a soldier, and he's not letting the streets slow him down. While his mother hawks sachet water in East Legon traffic at night, 10-year-old Samuel turns her ice chest into a desk and studies under car lights. He wants to become successful one day so he can wipe the sweat off his mother's face. Emefadati has more.
On these busy streets of East Legon, dreams do not wait for perfect conditions. They fight to survive.
Drink 4+1, 5. And I have seen a 6.
On this busy street, 10-year-old Samuel is chasing his dream to serve his country as a soldier. His study table, the mother's ice chest, and the study room, this pavement. His study lamp, the bright lights from passing vehicles.
My name is Samuel Opong.
And how old are you?
10 years.
You're 10 years. Okay, what class are you?
Class 4.
What do you do here?
Do my homework.
He comes here after school. By the time we get home, he will be asleep. I always make sure he does his homework so that when we get home, he just takes his bath and goes to bed.
By midday through to evening, the uniform changes. Now, she's a hawker navigating impatient drivers and scorching heat, all for one reason: Samuel.
Sometimes selling water is really slow and it's tough. I earn 40 to 50 cedis in profit daily. My aim is to get a shop of my own so I can sell there and not lose my handiwork.
His books are never far from his hands. That gives him joy. His dream? Becoming a military officer.
What do you want to become?
Soldier.
A soldier?
On these streets, hope is not a luxury, it's survival. Just like Samuel and Abigail, many hawkers and their children dream beyond the traffic and beyond the struggles. And with every page Samuel turns, he moves closer to making his dream a reality.
All the best to young Samuel. Now, as erratic weather and shrinking rainfall hit farmers hard, scientists are pushing for intercropping as a lifeline. The practice, which is mixing cereal crops with nitrogen-fixing plants like pigeon pea, boosts soil health, improves yields, and shields farms from climate shocks. It's a climate-smart solution in the face of worsening food insecurity. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku has more in today's episode of Climate Focus.
In the last farming season, Ghana witnessed yet another unprecedented long dry spell, destroying nearly 1 million acres of land. Every year we get beautiful harvests, but this year hasn't been good. It rains heavily during June, July, but not this year. The plants have failed to grow. Farmers in Ijua, one of Ghana's food baskets, are reeling under the impact of climate change.
It's expensive preparing the land. In the end, if you don't get anything, it hurts.
Scientists from the Research Institute are exposing them to a climate-smart farming practice of intercropping cereals and legumes. On a parcel of land, maize, a major staple grown by the farmers here, have been cultivated together with a leguminous shrub, pigeon pea. This sustainable farming practice enhances resilience to climate variability. Dr. Eric Owusu-Dankwa is an agronomist.
Because it's a fast-growing tree, one of the problems or the gases which is causing climate change is carbon. This is able to tap carbon from the atmosphere into its tissues. It is able to lock it and is able to reduce it, and that is good for climate change mitigation.
The farming practice is part of innovations adopted under diversification pathways in Africa through bio-based and circular agricultural innovations, Divagri project. For JoyNews, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
Climate Focus is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
And from chart-topping lyrics to academic headlines, Tuobodom is back in the spotlight, but this time, it's not because of a viral song. In a stunning twist at the 2025 Bono East NSMQ regional qualifiers, they knocked out much-touted regional kings, Kintampo SHS, booking a second straight ticket to the national stage and rewriting the town's narrative from meme to momentum. Before we go on the phone and engage with our reporters for update from today's regional qualifiers, listen to some of the reactions from today's contest.
people saw the pairing with Kintampo Senior High, they were like, hey, Tiobodom, what and whatever. And I believe in something. It is written that God brings down the proud and raise the humble. So we are moving slowly and humble. And the schools out there, we are moving slowly and by God's grace.
Which schools are the proud ones? Specific ones?
I can't really mention any name now.
Went through the social media, people are saying Kintampo. We got a little bit scared. The Almighty Kings.
The Almighty Kings. So yes, they have defeated the Almighty Kings of Bunu is Kintampo Senior High School by just 3 points.
From first school, I have noticed that they learn hard and then they took first in every competition they go. That's why.
So you want your school to ship them?
Yeah, we will ship them. They should prepare and wait for us. At stake, we are coming over there.
Get onto the telephone lines now and speak to my colleagues Collins Frimpong, who is in the Bono region for us, and Adobia Asare, who is also in the Western region. Let's start with you, Collins. Let's start with Adobia, who is in the Western region. Adobia, tell us how the day unfolded in the Western region.
Well, today, Ken, and the Western region, only 4 schools contended with each other because actually the Western regional schools are done. So the schools which did the quiz today are from Western North, Viviani, SSPS, Draboso, Teshi, and St. Joseph. Now, as at round 3, Draboso was leading and things looked very promising for them. But things took a very sharp turn in round 4 when St. Joseph's SSPS beat them with just 4 points and then made it past the regional qualifier. So they'll be battling for the championship title tomorrow with 6 other schools which won in previous days.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Collins Frimpong in the Bunu region, where Tiobodom SHS have finally booked their place to the next stage of the competition. Collins, when that famous song came, were you around by then?
But I've been listening to SF due to the competition which happened today. Tiobodom defeating Kintampo, which is something nobody was expecting. They beat them with 3 solid points. And an interesting contest that happened today was Our Lady of Mount Carmel SHS. They were really on the Mount Carmel today. They secured 67 points to book a final, the regional finals and also the national championship. We had SHS for the national championship and also had a lot of today happening.
Okay, thank you very much, Collins Frimpong and Adobia Asare on the beat for us for the NSMQ regional qualifiers. And that's how we end Newsnight tonight. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. You can get more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Have a good evening.